I support a criminal investigation into the unauthorized and illegal release of Mikey Sherrill's records. Mikey Sherrill is a patriot and a hero who has served this country, graduated from the Naval Academy, helicopter pilot, tours of duty in dangerous places overseas in the Middle East, came home, served as a federal prosecutor, is a supermom, and a great public servant and member of Congress. And it's outrageous that Donald Trump and his administration and political hacks connected to them continue to violate the law. And they will be held accountable.
Hakeem Jeffries among the top Democrats calling for a criminal investigation after a branch of the National Archives released mostly unredacted military records of New Jersey's Democratic candidate for governor, Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill, to an ally of her opponent in the governor's race. CBS News reports the documents included Sherrill's Social Security number, home address, insurance information, and much more. The archives apologized for the breach and said the records were released in error, but Sherrill's campaign is calling it breathtaking and demanding action. Congresswoman Sherrill joins us now. She served nearly a decade in the United States Navy and is a member of the House Armed Services Committee. Congresswoman, good morning. Appreciate you coming on to talk about this. What is your response and what was your reaction when you first heard that these documents had been released with all of your personal information out in the open?
Well, it's really scary in these times, of course, to have all that private information in the public. We're worried about, credit, et cetera. But I think what this shows, too, is that my opponent and the Trump administration will stop at nothing. They will completely weaponize the federal government to achieve what they want. We've seen it with Comey and what's going on there. And now we're seeing it here, releasing all of my records to try to have my opponent, who this is the third time he's run for this office, he's desperate and will stop at nothing, which is really chilling. But at the same time, I'm here today because I think this is so important that I stand up, because this could happen to any veteran. And I'm able to fight this because I'm a sitting member of Congress. But imagine the veteran who writes an op-ed that someone in the Trump administration or in Jack Ciattarelli's orbit. Imagine an average veteran writes an op-ed. What's going to happen to that person now as we see the federal government weaponized against veterans like this?
So my understanding, and perhaps you can help us through the story a little bit, is this a guy in the state of New Jersey was asked by a Republican consultant in New Jersey who is allied with your Republican opponent in this race, Jack Ciattarelli, to see what he could find about you. And this first man who received the information from the branch of the National Archives said he, too, was shocked to see all this personal information, though it doesn't appear it stopped him from passing it along to the campaign. Does that sound right?
So, Willie, we know you're from New Jersey when you're talking about a guy. Yeah, Jack Ciattarelli had a guy that he had vetted to be his lieutenant governor, who went forward and asked for my records from the National Archives. The archive said, well, you can have this, but look, some of this is private information. You can't have that. You need to get a signature, which he didn't have. You need to have her Social Security number, which he didn't have. You need to have the Department of the Navy say it's okay to release this, which they didn't do. So this was in no way accidental. But he went back the day after my primary. I won the primary on June 10th. On June 11th, this guy goes back to, makes a phone call to the archives, and then a technician at the archives goes to the VA, which he's, that is not, by regulation, he's not supposed to do that, goes to the VA to grab my Social Security number, gets these records, gives them to Jack Ciattarelli's guy, and then they start weaponizing these, and then a member of the press corps comes to us and says, look, this has been dumped on me, and I don't think anybody should have this. It's stamped with things like PII, personally identified information. And so it was very clearly not to be released, to the point where the guy is even telling the reporter, yeah, I can't believe, they gave me this. They shouldn't have given me this, or, it was very obvious. And so this is what we're looking at in the whole scale weaponization of the federal government at every level.
And obviously the National Archives, any branch of it, has protocol for releasing information. They don't just throw everything out into the wind willy-nilly. So do you suspect there was something nefarious on that side of it?
Oh, Willie, I more than suspect. As I was saying, there are so many ways in which this should never have happened. It's why bipartisan people across the country are appalled at this and putting out statements on it. It's why Hakeem Jeffries is calling for a criminal investigation. It's why we have issued letters to make sure everyone involved holds on to all their information should we bring a court case. So this is by no means an accident or something that just doesn't appear to be a political attack by the Trump administration along with Jack Ciattarelli against me, meaning, like I said, they should have required any number of wickets to be gone through to release this, including my signature, including my Social Security number, including release by the Department of Navy. Those, among others, were not met at all. And this low-level technician who got this call released all these documents. And, in speaking to people who formerly worked at the National Archives, other people are familiar with this, they thought it was pretty breathtaking that this happened. They'd never seen anything like it.
Yeah, it's objectively a breach of their protocol and the way things are supposed to happen. So this all brings us to the question of why the Ciattarelli campaign is even looking into your military records. There was a cheating scandal at the Naval Academy in 1994. You were in no way accused of cheating. You were not implicated in that scandal in any way. In fact, you received the Navy Achievement Medal for saving the life of a fellow shipmate. You've received the Distinguished Public Service Award, the highest honor the U.S. Navy gives out. No one is disputing the way you've conducted yourself bravely in the United States Navy and with honor. But the accusation is that you didn't turn in your classmates and therefore did not walk at your graduation. What can you tell us about that?
So, Willie, I've been clear. Yes, I didn't turn in my classmates. I didn't walk at graduation. But as you said, I graduated and then went on to serve for almost 10 years with service awards and commendations. And I'm really proud of that service. And it's, again, why I'm here today, because this has a chilling effect then on other veterans who might want to run for office, who might want to speak up about something they're concerned about, who might want to engage in political life. And when you think about all that the National Archives has when you have served your country, different duty stations, things that might put you in danger, certainly, putting out your Social Security information, your address. I'm not sure what all is out on my children or my parents or other family members. We go through a lot of background checks, a lot of security checks. I held the highest level of security, TSSCI, so numerous background checks. So to think that all of that is in play because I want to run for office or because I want to say I disagree with my opponent, Jack Ciattarelli, and that all that could be weaponized by any Republican running for office against a veteran is, again, something that should never happen in this country. People who serve this country at a minimum should know that their information is being kept private by the government. And I think it really begs the question, too, if Jack Ciattarelli will do this when he's desperately running for office, what will he do with information of the people of New Jersey? If he had power over the documents that the state has of people across this state, there is no indication that he would protect those. There's every indication that he would continue this program of weaponizing things against any opponents that he has.
Claire, we've been talking, Claire McCaskill's with us, Congresswoman. Claire, we've been talking this week a lot about weaponization of the government, whether it's in the case of Jimmy Kimmel or now James Comey. This certainly looks like a Republican campaign in the state of New Jersey finding its way to someone in a branch of the National Archives to completely breach protocol and release public records of a candidate they're running against.
Yeah, frankly, if the guy at the National Archives hasn't been fired yet, I would suggest today would be a good time. And Congresswoman, I'd like to, you've mentioned that this reflects on the judgment of your opponent. I have to believe there's a backlash on this. So the fact that they thought this was a good idea, once they realized they had stuff they shouldn't have, the fact they still took it to a journalist, I mean, that's just stupid. I mean, let's talk Jersey. That's just damn dumb of him to do that. So hopefully the voters are seeing that. My question to you is, what about the veterans organizations in this country? Have they stood up at this moment? Have they spoken out about what has happened here? Because the point you keep making over and over again is a really important point. If they will do this to a veteran who has put their life on the line and been decorated, saying, I'll give my life for this country. If they'll do that to a veteran in a political campaign, shouldn't the leaders of the national veterans organizations at this moment be standing up and speaking out? Have you heard from them?
We've reached out, and I'm really hoping they do, because, of course, historically they would have. This is beyond the pale, and protecting veterans should come first. And the fact, you're exactly right, the fact that my opponent was shopping this information that was obviously personal information, like I said, with Social Security number, et cetera, that he was shopping this, his team was shopping this to the press, just shows you how brazen this is. And again, it starts at the top, as you've alluded to, with President Trump trying, just ordering the indictment of Comey with, no evidence needed, just indict him. It starts with shutting down Jimmy Kimmel when he speaks out, and not even in not in a very aggressive way, but anyone who has any dissent, anyone who disagrees, anyone who has the audacity to run for governor of New Jersey, attacking that person or attacking them and shutting that down. And that's what I think we all have to stand up against. And I will say we have a fight here in New Jersey. This is one of only 2 races statewide in the entire nation. So that is why I think these attacks are being centered on me,